Good on you for remembering. Hey, everybody. Sorry for the 6.5 minutes of your life we just wasted. Hope some of it was entertaining to you. If not, hopefully the next part of this will be. Welcome to Summer 23 release. It's gonna be May. I'm not playing any NSYNC music. My NSYNC lyrics are sprinkled throughout.
I'm really excited for her song breaks, honestly.
Yes, so with the May release, I think before we even want to get started, we want to be a little bit honest with you guys on our feelings of this release, or at least I'm going to be very direct. I think that what's coming in this summer release honestly is a little lackluster. Everything that is cool from my personal perspective is once again, hey, it's here, but it's in beta. Okay, cool. And I didn't get a lot of things that I was personally excited about. I feel like I read the release notes different times throughout the weeks prepping for this to feel like giving myself like, maybe I'm just feeling negative today, read it again tomorrow. And I still was struggling to find anything that I thought could be helpful to everyone and interesting. So that's where I'm coming from. The highlight of that, if you want to take a silver lining, is that probably means that today's release will be not the full hour, so we'll give you a significant amount of time back. But I don't know, Christy, you can share as well. I was not really excited about what I saw.
Yeah, it's not necessarily that I wasn't excited about it. I mean, the release still has, hundreds of things in it as usual. But yeah, the things that I did want to start playing with right away or that I thought were applicable to my customers right away are, like in closed pilot still or in beta. And that makes me really sad. But yeah, I mean, there's still some nuggets in here, of course.
For sure.
My usual process is like when the release notes come out, I immediately start reading all of them, as the documentation nerd that I am. And I usually have like this really long list of these are all the things that are applicable to this org and this org or this customer or just to me to play with. And yeah, my list was super short this time around, which was kind of weird. So, but yeah, let's go through the stuff that we pulled out, and then I would love to hear if you guys have some favorites or if you were feeling the same way. But release time is always fun time. There's always something. So
this is true. I should be more positive overall. Let's get into it.
So negative.
I'm so negative, but I'm so excited for tonight because what? Super Bowl tonight, Vanderpump finale. Anyway, key dates that are coming right up. I'm personally excited that we are doing our release notes prior to release readiness week. Usually we're in the week after, but we got into it before. So the release weekends are starting here. I don't know about you guys, but every org I've ever been in, I'm always the final release weekend. So 6-9, I'm
me
excited.
Too. It makes me so mad.
Every org, wherever I've been, I'm always the last. I'm like, who are the first two release weekends?
Is anybody in the first release weekend? I need to get on that instance.
You've always been in the first one, Julian? What the heck?
Unfair. Gonna have words about that later.
But if you don't get enough information from us today, sign up for the Release Readiness Live, which starts on Friday and goes all next week. And it's, as always, it's awesome how they break up the sessions by Sales Cloud, by flow. So you're not wasting your time on, information you may not even be using.
My favorite part of Release Readiness Live is that they actually take your questions live. Tracy and I used to compete to see whose name they would say first when we asked questions on Twitter, and we just bombed them on Twitter for the hour and a half of each session. It was really fun. But they are really good sessions.
We need different hobbies, but it's always really fun. Let's jump in to flow improvements, because as we know, flow is the future, so we're going to talk about it first. With the flow improvements, some Canvas changes. These improvements are coming just in time. No, okay, sorry, I'll keep going.
I didn't get that when she said it the first time, and so she added
Timberlake and sing it to me. You don't follow my mind. High contrast element colors. This is not just available on Canvas or in Flow, but I'm going to call it out here. So my widget is very small, but you'll see like a darker, richer color of all of your elements, you're going to see this throughout Salesforce in general, which is great for, making this just more accessible to all of our users. I know that there's throughout the org complaints about the white and the gray looks like interchangeable and all this stuff. So I think this is a great improvement that's just less strain on our eyes. So I'm excited for this. Less white space and auto layout. I feel like there are two camps of those who love auto layout and those who refuse, like
I
your
love auto
freeform
layout.
nonsense. And
Wait,
I
which
feel like
camp are you?
I'm auto layout all the way.
Okay, me
Yeah.
too.
I feel like, Andrew, I feel like some of the arguments have been from the freeform people are that it's, too much spacing. So maybe this will be a little bit better. Oh my God, there's so much freeformers on here. And I'm just talking that smack.
Way to go, Tracy.
You do you. I should not judge. But maybe just toggle to it for a second and look at the reduction in white space. Maybe you'll like it more. One thing that
I do really like this actually because I will not have to scroll as far to see, all of the nodes on the canvas. It's going to condense.
It's going to condense. Yeah. There are times where I have to hit the expand to see it all and then zoom into my correct wing.
Yeah.
There is one change that they are selling as an improvement, but technically it's an additional mouse movement. So when you're adding a new element, you have to hover over the tiny circle, and then once the plus sign appears, then click. And again, they're selling this as an improvement, but technically that is a change in my muscle memory. So I'm just calling that out.
That was an interesting design choice.
Right? I'm like, I hover, then click.
I mean, do I really care? No, but yeah, it's interesting.
But could it add to frustration when my hand is doing one thing and I'm like, why can't I this stupid element? Yes.
Maybe.
For me personally, yes. So those are our canvas changes. Moving on, I am super excited about this. Oh, my changes didn't save. It's fine. You can add a search bar to your data table component. So like all of our unofficial SF days, all of those, workarounds that we've been doing in years prior, like they are really coming to the forefront and replacing those workarounds that we've had to do. And this is just so unbelievably stellar. And then to add to that, they've increased the row limit to 1,500 up from 200. And I know that for me, my org multiple flows that I currently have, I'm going to jump on this change immediately. So I think this is exciting. I think this is going to make your current screen flows where you are doing a get and trying to surface data for them to pick and choose from. I think it's going to make it that much easier.
Do you think that though in a screen flow, someone would want to search through 1,500 rows to find what they're looking for? I feel like I would try to dial that in more, like in a real use case. It's just I like that they upped that limit. Obviously, it's cool. It's a great number, but I'm just wondering like how actually applicable is that in a screen flow?
So for my org specifically, and where I'm like the most excited about it, is adding contact roles to the opportunity. And with those bigger accounts, we have, easily thousands of contacts that our AEs have to search through to find the correct person to add to the opportunity. So for me, I see like the improvement there. Obviously, I mean, I
Makes me
still
sad
have
that there's so many contacts.
What was that?
Makes me sad that there's so many contacts.
Well, they're big companies,
Okay, all right.
Companies have a lot of people. But like I still have to do my side, on my admin side, make sure that I'm only getting the most applicable of the most applicable. But for those large companies, those large accounts, it'd still be a meaty list that they have to pick from and add to the op.
Potentially
So I have
200.
I have a vain hope that it means my AEs are going to add even more great data to the opportunity.
There you go. That's the spirit.
Yeah.
So proud of you.
Thank you. Another thing that may seem silly, but I was excited about is flow permissions are now grouped in their own little section when you are tweaking and creating new profiles. Before it was somewhere in the long list of system permissions and you had to do a Control F. And you had to remember kind of what the name may have contained. Now it's in its own section for for flows. And so I feel like that's like just a nice, easy admin improvement that will make provisioning a lot easier.
I hope that they kind of continue down this path and break more of those system permissions into their
Yeah.
own little sections like this, especially as we're moving into more permission set based security models and permission set groups. I think it just makes it easier for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope that too, especially since this seems to be a push from them to get us over to permission set groups and permission sets. Maybe it's caused them to be like a little reassessment of like, oh, we've kept it an unorganized folder structure for years. It's just essentially just paper strewn about, but now they're thinking about organizing it, which is nice.
While we're talking about permission sets, I did not add a slide for it, but it is now GA where you can enable the toggle to give field visibility permissions at the permission set level versus the profile. And I
Mhm.
did actually turn this on for one of my customers. The whole security model is based on permission set groups versus profiles. And so it made it super simple. So when you create a new field and you typically see the profiles there, you can see all of your permission sets, or you can check a box to only show the permission sets that have object security for that object already. So it narrows down your list, which I found super
Ooh.
valuable. So if you guys are thinking about, starting the move to using permission sets and permission sets groups, yes, you have 3 years officially, and probably longer than that if we're being honest. But I would definitely play with that feature in the sandbox. It does completely remove your profile access though on those screens. So if you're still using profiles, it would be a flip flops. Like you would add to your permission sets and then have to go add to your profile like you used to have to do a permission set. So keep that in
Yeah.
mind, but definitely start playing with it, especially now that it's GA. And I think everybody should just, start moving in that direction
Start
anyways.
moving in
So,
that direction.
yeah.
Oh, fine, Christy. We know. All right.
Just do it.
Sales Cloud. Is that on the team? Okay. Sorry. No. Okay.
That wasn't a very good
Don't
song
hate me
break.
too much. We're first going to do a little in memoriam. Sometimes you just need to say bye, bye, bye.
Bye, bye, bye.
Oh,
Everyone's saying it in their head. You know the
automated account logos going away, which I
bye,
thought
bye,
was
bye.
interesting. I mean, I always liked that the it would prompt you and like having a logo looked cool, but I guess that's gone now. I guess there are too many small companies that Salesforce simply can't find. So maybe that's the reason for its retirement. But that is why it's going away, just in case you guys have those. Newsfeed is just going to flat out disappear this release. If you have it on your home pages or on your account pages, nothing needs to be done, but your users may ask, hey, where'd Newsfeed go? Salesforce, it was a quick kill there. And then new process builders. So Salesforce is really taking the approach of F around and find out. Like we are in the find out chapter from Salesforce. They retired workflows and we're like, oh yeah, process builder retirement's coming. Ha ha ha. I think they heard us laughing because you can now no longer create new process builders. So well played. Pretty interesting. But for those of you who are still actively creating new process builders,
Stop.
stop. Stop because they're about to stop you. Hard stop. That new button is gone. As you can see from that very beautiful X mark over the new box. It is going to be gone in this release.
Bye,
So
bye, bye.
thank you guys for your service. Head on out to retirement. Pipeline inspection. Okay. This is something that's cool, but it's not available in all orgs. I think it's Enterprise and Unlimited, Christy, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, so it used to be available with an add-on license. You had to buy Revenue Intelligence, or you had to have an unlimited org already. So now this is just available in enterprise without an add-on license, which has been like a godsend for one of my customers. We had actually been evaluating revenue intelligence for them, like they really needed this, and but they couldn't afford it, and it was like this whole thing, and I was trying to scope out like, okay, how do I build this for them without them having to pay for it, and then we could just turn it on. So it was great. I love that this, I mean, I feel like this should be standard functionality anyway, so I was super thankful that they just pushed this into enterprise.
Yeah. And I recently just rolled this out in my org, like literally within the past sprints. I have found it to be super exciting, very easy to enable. It's like a switch essentially, and then you're adding a button to the layout. And then what I've currently been doing in order to do a soft rollout, because, you know, I created a permission set. I actually cloned the permission sets that they suggested because it was missing something. I feel like it was missing an Apex class. And I'm like, how could you do this to me? Yeah, it was missing something that was preventing my users from seeing it. So I cloned that permission set and provisioned it to the people who I think can handle it now, and we're kind of doing a soft launch of it that way. Um, Very exciting. The one thing that I'm not sure how well you guys can see, but you can look at pipeline that's closing this quarter based on so and so's team. And I only, with the help of Christy, found out today that that is looking at your forecast hierarchy, not your role hierarchy. Because I was like, how is pipeline inspection looking at these teams, these teams, these teams? Because I'm going to the user record and I'm not seeing the direct relationship, even though it was correct. Turns out forecast hierarchy had already been built out in my org, and that's what it was referencing. So if that's what you are, you're going through the process of setting this up, just be aware of that. It's looking at your forecast hierarchy.
I think another gotcha just for this view is that if you want people to be able to see these views for various teams, but you don't want to change their role necessarily, you can give them like the view all opportunities or view all forecast permissions, and then they'll be able to surface the whole list too. But obviously use that sparingly.
Yeah.
I do love to, I mean, this came out 2 years ago, I think, and I think that they've had an update in every release since then. So this is something that they're focused on. I love that they've given us the additional inline editing fields. I don't know why necessarily you'd want to inline edit a URL field, but maybe their website changes. I don't know. I thought that one was a kind of random one. But I just love that they're still working on this. I think there's still a lot that they can do. And I think that this is the tool that they're using to really start pulling in the power of analytics, especially, and we don't have a picture here, but you can change this to like that waterfall view where you get the really nice CRM analytics visual of what's happened to your pipeline. And they're just, pulling these two things together. And I think that's great.
Do you think, like,
Data.
do you think, like, obviously this is like a very light version of competing with already like add-on or third-party forecasting tools? Do you see a Salesforce acquisition of a third-party forecasting tools in the future, or do you see like this is their slow progression to trying to compete in that realm?
No, I don't think so. I think
Yeah.
this is truly about pipeline management.
Okay.
And how am I managing my pipeline and which deals are moving? And from like a manager perspective, what are my sales reps doing, or rather, what didn't they do? What's red? What's what looks bad? I think forecasting will always require another tool for, especially the bigger companies that connect to Anaplan or whatever
Right.
other
Which
platform
is
they're using. That's different. I think this is truly just focused on how am I managing the deals in my pipeline and how can I move them forward.
gotcha. Okay, that's good to know, because I know that some people, some executive stakeholders may see this when I roll it out and be like, oh, does that mean we can do a cost savings over here when that comes up for renewal? We need to be able to say, hold it, not quite.
That's a good call, Julian. Julian said most of this comes out of the box with like those competitor products you were mentioning. So they made this free to compete with that, which totally makes sense and keeps it all in one place.
Configure searchable objects per profile. Now, normally I don't talk about beta stuff because it's in beta and I feel like it's a big tease, but this is exciting to me. Something we only occasionally admit as admins, developers, architects, super users, is that we are like enablers to the point of gross. Like, obviously, we should talk about it in therapy, how much we enable our end users, but we are the way we are, okay? It just is. And there are
Tracy
times
is an enabler.
all encourage each other. Like, we gotta teach our end users to fish. We're teaching our end users to fish. But sometimes I just want to give them the fish. And for me, I see configure searchable objects per profile as, you know what? I'm just gonna give them the fish in this use case, right? Because there are some times where, teaching the concept of, well, this is in this object versus this is in this object, you have the conversation so many times that your soul has left your body, right? I want my soul to come back into my body, so I would much rather take this route and
Yeah.
make it easier for those select profiles than having that meeting for 30 minutes every 2 weeks until I die.
I think that this feature is great. I think it's totally usable. I was telling you earlier, I already have a use case with one of my customers for it. But what threw me off was the word profile. Like, why would they roll something
Why would
out
they
at a
go to
profile
profile?
level
Yeah.
when they're pushing things out? Yeah. So I thought that that was a little weird. And I do think that I saw a note somewhere else in the release notes where this could be configurable also by permission sets, but don't quote me on that. But now that I said it out loud, I think it might be true. But I just thought it was weird that they would say profile since we're moving
Yeah,
away from that.
that piqued my curiosity too. I was like, oh, so profiles are still going to be around because you're adding this to that. Okay.
I mean, they'll always be around for certain things, right? Well, I
Right.
can't say always, but for a long time, they will always be available for certain things. So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good call out. So yes, this is a cool feature for very specific purposes. Oops, Service Cloud. All right.
Service Cloud. So I was kind of sad about the Service Cloud release. I usually find like 50 things, which is like all of the Service Cloud items, right, that I'm in love with that I want to get my hands on. This Omni Supervisor wallboard might look familiar because I was raving about it in the last release readiness, and I think the one before that too, and it is still in pilot. I don't understand. I mean, it's great that they're getting all the kinks out of it and making sure that when I get my hands on it, it's going to be immaculate. I think that it's super needed, and I'm still super excited that it will be coming eventually. And I wish one of my customers would sign up for the pilot. I actually suggested it to one of them, and I think they filled out the form. So, fingers crossed.
So it's still a closed pilot even after all these releases.
Yep,
Oh my gosh. Okay.
sure is. But
Well,
that's okay because it's gonna be great.
I love that hopefulness.
This is another one I'm super excited about. So I just finished rolling out a new Einstein bot version actually, and of course it was like finished right when we got the sandbox preview for this. But this allows you to create essentially a template of a dialogue group, which is a bunch of different dialogues that you've put together with one header basically, and use that as like a template and copy it into a different bot so that if you have multiple bots going, you don't have to duplicate your efforts with all these different dialogues each time, which I think is really powerful. um, Especially like what if you had, you know, two bots that are essentially doing the same things, but you have different languages assigned or different groups assigned, or you have them like on different web pages or something for some reason. I don't know why you would do that, but you wouldn't have to rebuild it all. You could just use this block now, which is cool.
That's cool.
And I think it's just, they're pushing these reusable building blocks, use components, use things that you can use in multiple places. And I think this just adds to that
Consistency and
kind
scale.
of bots now. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Which I love.
Overall improvements. I think these are fun. Christy, do you want to go for this one? Because it's in beta. I don't care.
All the cool things are in beta, I told you.
Yep.
So yeah, dynamic forms for mobile. We already love them and use them on desktop, of course. They've enabled them for mobile. You do have to turn on the toggle. Obviously, it's a beta feature, so be careful what you're enabling. But I think that it's totally worth playing with for sure. I love dynamic forms. I think that they're amazing and 100% the future. So why not transfer that to mobile also so you have the same experience?
For sure.
Duh.
I'm excited for this one. Christy disagrees just slightly, but aligning fields horizontally in field sections. Huh. I think this is great for that end user perspective. And Christy will argue with me in 2 seconds, but she's going to let me talk first. I think this is great for, your SDR team or your BDR team is, tasked with, hey, we're going to give you this prospect that's missing a lot of information. We're going to need you to fill in the address, this, that, and the other. And then it's grouped in like, you try and group it in a section so they know to get it, but people's eyes naturally miss things. And I think that this is cool because I'm able to group like things together to guide the eyes to what it needs next. That I will get off my soapbox now, and you can have your argument.
I mean, I like alignment. I think it looks beautiful, but I also see like if you look at the picture on the far right, I also see just a lot of white space where the phone number is, right? And like that's the improvement. But I remember, years ago when we were first rolling out Lightning, the very first complaint we got is, "Oh my God, there's so much white space." Even if you go to compact mode, there's just white space. Everything is big and white space. And so this is just adding more white space, potentially in the middle of that form, right? Which I just know is going to piss some people off. And those people are probably the ones that wouldn't be happy with it anyways. But I
Either
can
way.
see how that will be a complaint, is all. That's it. I think it's
Okay,
beautiful.
you're entitled to your incorrect opinion. It's fine. Tabs and accordions in app pages. I know Christy's excited about this one. I am too. I just, from a admin management perspective, I'm kind of already exhausted. But this is great to have because it does provide consistency across all of your other Lightning pages where you can add accordions and tabs. Now you can do it in app pages as well.
Yeah, I think it's where it's fun that like you're an admin and I'm an architect because I think about like I've been missing being able to create more dynamic visual pages in an app page for all these years, and you're like, but that's just more crap for me to manage.
More prep for me to manage, more stuff for me to remember.
Yeah, so
But
I think
overall,
I
it's
think
still
it's
good and it's
great.
consistency.
Yeah, I don't know why every page type wouldn't be able to have tabs and accordions, right? It just seems like standard components that should be available anywhere, honestly.
I completely agree. I just think of like within tabs and accordions, like the conditional format or the conditional visibility that I already have in place on these different types of pages. And if I add it to an app page, I have to remember that conditional visibility as well. And if it's hidden behind a tab, is there a possibility I forget it? That is where my mind goes.
Such an admin.
This one is cool, but a lot of you guys are about to get your hearts broken, right? Because
Like
this is
me.
only available in unlimited edition. But for those unlimited users, images, rich texts, and widgets are coming to your dashboard pages, which I think, again, guiding that end user experience, guiding a person's eyes, maybe even using that to do explainers of like the following gauge widget you're about to look at is looking at this. Tim, this is what it's talking about. Kyle, like, be able to really guide your users who are kind of struggle with understanding what they're looking at. I feel like this would be a very dynamic way to increase the dashboard engagement and get users to feel confident about the data that they're looking at. However, only us unlimited folks get to be excited about it. Why? I have no idea.
It's
So
super weird and
there's
also
that.
sad. And I really want to use it and I love it so much. And I feel like, yeah, that's where my mind goes to just bringing in more context, like we do with the CRM analytics dashboard, to be able
Yeah,
to explain the data and guide your user. So this is available if you have unlimited, but you do still have to email support and ask them to turn it
that's
on for
right.
you.
Why? Just give
Um,
it to me.
no.
Ugh.
I think it's probably not quite ready, and so they're doing it in like a limited release type thing.
I will literally
Must
be
be.
yelling
And
this
that's
whole
why
time.
it's for unlimited orgs and you have to ask them to turn it
And I
off.
have to ask pretty please.
Requires effort.
I am also excited from a completely immature admin standpoint of this means I get to put memes in my dashboards.
It does. You can put
So
GIFs.
when I see images, that beautiful picturesque thing that they have going on isn't going to be happening in my work. No.
Yeah, that's really weird. The like train picture is really pretty, but why would you put that on a dashboard? Just waste space.
It's a pretty picture, Christine.
That's beautiful.
Another thing, I'm just prefacing it right now, unlimited people get to be excited about and everybody else gets to be angry about. Increased dashboard filters. We go from 3 to 5 for unlimited orgs only. Again, don't know why. Not behind it. Excited that I fit in that criteria at this my current juncture. Upset for the injustice for the rest of you.
Good job. I
Thank you.
don't think I put any slides in here about CRM analytics, but I have to say something about it because I wouldn't be me if I didn't. But I think the one CRM analytics thing I'm most excited about is that they've added the ability to launch flow actions from basically anything you put on your dashboard, which is super cool. When I first read the headline for that release note, I thought that you were going to be able to like access analytics assets in an easier way from Flow. Like I totally read it backwards or something, and I got so excited, and then it was just like, oh, launch this
Pulling
action
it back a
from your
little.
dashboard, which is still super cool. And they're dynamic actions, so to like pass the values from your table or chart into the flow that you kick off. But I was so excited because that's what I've been waiting for. Like you can access analytics assets from a flow using like the SDK and a lot of developer time, but there's not like an easy or declarative way to do it yet, and I'm really waiting for that. It will be amazing.
Do you already have use cases lined up?
I did with my previous company. I don't think I have any now. But it was like, I want to be able to update this field value from this flow, but there's a really complex calculation that I need to do that I'm already doing in the data layer of analytics anyway.
Yeah.
So why can't I just use that same thing and not have to recreate it somewhere else type thing, which I think would
Okay,
be
I see that. Yeah.
but yeah.
Cool.
Calendars.
I can't.
So rich. I put calendars and Tracy was like, "What? You use calendars?"
Uh,
I do not, but a lot of my users do, and I thought it was so weird that there were 6 new updates to Salesforce calendars because I don't think we've seen an update to calendars in forever. So they've increased the view so you can see 500 events here somehow. I don't know how you would even look at that. And then they've enabled events where they can be on 50 shared calendars and resources. The best one that's available in like every other calendar app ever created is just you can drag and drop to reschedule the event without having to click into it and actually update the date and time. So I feel like that should have come, way earlier, but that's okay.
you buried the lead with that one. Calendars, if you use them, you now have the drag and drop capability that every other calendar in the history of the internet has already had.
That's already had, yeah. So that's great. It's amazing.
Does anybody use
Um,
calendars? No judgment if you do. No, sorry. No, but like calendars.
but
Okay.
salespeople use calendars, and field service uses calendars, and like
Field
people use
service.
calendars.
I just feel like it's all synced from their Gmails, and so they're just using their Gmail calendar. I don't know any salesperson who goes in there. I'm like looking at my Salesforce calendar.
So I have one company, so they have Einstein Activity Capture, so all of their events sync into Salesforce, but then they also have like Salesforce created events or other things that have been shared with them. And so I feel like this gives them the one view of all of those things if they're not syncing back the other direction, you know?
Well, I mean, it
Um,
gives those 6 orgs who use calendars like good on you guys. You can drag and drop now.
I'm sure lots of people use calendars. I also
I'm
put
just
the
being sassy. I'm
little,
so sorry.
this little screenshot from the new activity buttons that they gave us in the last release, there's just this quick like view calendar here, and it pops it out in a new tab for you, so you can just like quickly look at it instead of having to navigate to your actual calendar and stop what you're doing, which is nice, I guess. For those
Guys,
people
take
who
any
have
highlight from today's call. Let it be calendars.
calendars. Yay,
Oh my
calendars.
goodness.
In-app guidance. So the update to this, which I hope you guys are using because it's really cool, but you can now do use a field as your target, like an individual field. So before you could have your prompts docked like on the left or the right or like the upper right quadrant or the middle, but you couldn't really target a certain thing. And so sometimes you had to kind of be like, well, is the upper left closer to this field than the bottom center or whatever. And now you can actually select the field, which I think is super helpful. And Tracy and I had a whole conversation about in-app guidance earlier, and I really like to use it as both an onboarding tool, but also a hey, we just rolled out this new field, and I know I sent you an email about it, and I told you about it in this lunch and learn that we did, but now you're seeing it on your screen, and you have to actually acknowledge that you saw it, and then I can see that you acknowledged that you saw it, and so we shouldn't have any problems going forward.
Yeah. I can, when you said it to me that way, like I can, and I will use this for, because I mean, as with many orgs, opportunities are fluid and the data that is needed constantly changes and usually increases or like is placed somewhere else. And so being able to be like, hey, remember in this sprint release where that field was there? Well, now it's called this field and it's a, dependent of this field and you can find it here. So I will definitely be using it. It makes sense. I guess I didn't realize how far in-app guidance had come.
Yeah. I think this has been another one where they've definitely added improvements each release since they released it. I have not used the walkthrough ones because you only get like two or three, and then you have to pay for the whatever my trailhead is called now in order to use that more. But these just prompts, you can do as many as you want, and I use those all the time.
That's a cool feature. I thought that there was a limit on these too. So yes, ma'am, I will use
Use
them.
away.
Use away.
Trailhead, of course. So we've talked about 5 things or something. There's hundreds of things, of course, that are just not that exciting to us, but they might be to you. So, of course, Trailhead always has this module that has all of the release highlights in it. Go and do it. There's videos and peppy people talking about them, and I always think that they're useful. I really like doing the ones for the industries that I never touch at
Manufacturing
all, like
cloud. I do.
automotive and like government
Yeah.
cloud and like vaccine cloud, just to like see what other people get to play with. I think it's
Yeah.
fun to just like know that that exists. So go and learn more. Go forth and learn.
And then next month, we already kind of talked about what we're striving towards, having one of our AI overlords talk to us about the future of AI. Very exciting. That will be virtual. July, we are looking for it to be our next in person meeting. And Christy, do you want to go into details about what we're hoping for?
Yeah, so I am having some conversations with Salesforce with their Outforce group to see if we can do something around San Diego Pride. It's looking like it might be a viewing area versus actually being in the parade because since we're affiliated with Salesforce, they want to charge us like $10,000 or something, which our user group
Viewing
does
is
not have
fine.
a budget for that. But doing something around Pride, if you're an ally or whatever, just to show support for the community and be there. Last year when I was at Pride, I saw the Qualcomms of the world and all these big companies, but there was like no Salesforce presence at all. And I thought that that was a huge gap. And I was there in my like Astro Pride tee and stuff. So I thought it would be fun to all do that together. And Pride is super fun anyway. So it'll be a cool event. Still working out the details. We'll do it with Salesforce and potentially also with Slalom. Still talking about that too, but it should be a fun time. So hopefully, we have a good turnout. More
Hey,
info to come.
All right. I hope everybody has at least one NSYNC song running through your heads for the rest of the day. That was my goal. That
I'm
was.
just gonna have bye 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 stuck in my head for the rest of the week, probably.
Before we leave, if anybody wants to talk in the chat about a highlight that they're excited about, if not, totally cool. We definitely came into this with a very opinionated stance this month. For that, we apologize. But if you have anything to share, we'll let you guys take a moment to share. If not, we will see you guys next month. Are you going to force them all into turning their microphones on? Bye, 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 fist. Yes.
Yeah, I can. It takes me a while to go through the list.
We're all good. Or they can just put in chat.
Nope, I've already started.
Okay, all right. Well, you're committed to it.
I'm committed now. I'm halfway
I
through.
know, thanks, Michael. Bye, Julian. Sorry to all my freeformers. Didn't mean to slam you so viciously.
Nobody wants to be on camera. Oh, Sue is here. I didn't even notice you were there.
Sue, hey girl, hey.
Okay, I went through the whole list, but everyone's leaving, so we should probably just leave too.
We will. Thank you guys for coming. Hope you have a great day. And yeah, we'll see you in June.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.